Hey guys! So this is our cookie erosion experiment. So we're first going to go over the materials and then I'm going to go over how we're going to do the experiment. So everyone should have a cookie or something like a cookie. You can use a cracker, something hard that we can scratch and put water on. You're going to need a plate, so you can use any plate you have. A bowl would work as well because we are going to be using water. Everyone should have a toothpick. If you don't have a toothpick, you can use something like a fork or a pen, something that you can scratch. You're also going to have a straw and some water. So I have about a half cup here. You can have less than that. I wouldn't do any more than a half cup. But here are our materials. It's always good to have some sort of paper towel or towel near, just in case you do make a little bit of a mess, since we are going to be making crumbs and we're going to be using water. So what we're going to do is we are going to see how this cookie erodes using different materials that represent different types of erosion. So the first one, a toothpick, is for natural erosion. So that's like for plants or for animals, even humans. When you walk on rocks or dirt or anything, you move stuff around, right? And the more times an animal or a plant grows or moves, the land changes, right? So that's what the toothpick's for. The straw is for wind. So we're going to be using the straw to see how wind erodes the earth. And then we're going to be using the water to see how rain or even like an ocean or a lake or a river erodes the land around it. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're first going to start with our toothpick. Okay, with a toothpick, you do not poke, you do not lick, you do not eat anything with the toothpick. We're just going to hold it and we're going to use it as a tool, okay? So as second graders, we use this stuff as a tool, okay? And we know better than to do any of the things that I mentioned before. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your toothpick, and I'm going to have a timer for you, but for this video, I'm going to time myself. And for 30 seconds, I'm going to take my toothpick and I'm going to rub it against my cookie or my rock, okay? So our cookie represents a rock. So I'm going to rub it against it, not super hard where I break it, but just to kind of scratch it against to see how it erodes. So I'm going to start my timer for 30 seconds and then I'm going to start scratching, and I want you guys to see the erosion that's happening. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start my timer. I'm going to start scratching my cookie. So if you can see, you don't want to do it too hard or then your toothpick will break, and that's not good. So if you zoom in here, it's making a mark in the cookie. And I'm going to switch sides on my toothpick. You're going to scratch. It's not going to make a huge difference, but it's going to show. There we go. Some crumbs are coming off. Okay, there's my timer. So I'm going to stop what I'm doing. And we're going to pause this. Okay, so as you can see, my cookie, there's lots of crumbs, okay, and there's scratch marks in it. So some of the cookie eroded. So it's not a lot because animals or plants or even humans, they don't erode the cookie a lot, but over time, if I were to keep scratching this cookie for a long, long time, the cookie would probably be a pile of dust by the end. So that is what our toothpick did. So in class, when we're doing this, you guys are going to have a recording sheet where you are going to draw a picture and then write what the toothpick did to the cookie. But for the sake of time, I'm just going to move on to our next piece of erosion, and we're going to see what the straw or wind does to our cookie. So I'm going to start my timer again for 30 seconds. What you're going to do is you're going to blow on the cookie for 30 seconds, and you're going to see all the crumbs that fly, so that could represent dirt or dust or even little rocks that are flying all over this rock. So I'm going to start my timer. I'm going to blow on my cookie, and I already see some crumbs around my plate. So all the little crumbs that were inside where I scratched are now flying everywhere. So you can only imagine what wind does to dirt and to sand and all the other pieces that a real rock would have. Okay, so there's my timer. So I had lots of crumbs inside my cookie, and now there's not really any more crumbs because the wind or the straw took those crumbs away and made it travel. So that's why a plate is important to have, because you don't want crumbs all over your counter. So now we have crumbs all over our plate. So that's showing how wind erodes the rocks or the cookie, right? Okay, our last one is water, okay? Before we pour our water, I want you to be really careful, okay? The first thing, we're not gonna make it splash, so you're not gonna pour it and it's gonna go everywhere. It's not a shower. We are going to slowly pour our water, because when it rains, usually it's not a lot of water, right? Over time, there's more water. It's usually not this gigantic bucket of water that falls on the rocks. Also rivers flow very slowly. So we're gonna see how slow water erodes. Then once we have all of our water poured, then we're gonna let it sit for about 30 seconds. I'll set my timer, and we're gonna see what happens to the cookie in that 30 seconds, okay? So you're gonna take your water. You're not gonna start your timer yet. We're gonna first pour the water, and then we'll start our timer to see what happens in that 30 seconds. So I'm gonna pour my water nice and slow over my cookie. Remember, this is about a half cup of water. So I'm pouring my water. Okay, now that it's kind of sitting in the water, there's water on top, I'm gonna start my timer. And we're gonna watch what happens to the cookie. So it's super wet right now. It's in all the cracks that I made with my toothpick. There's crumbs everywhere. We're gonna see if anything happens to the cookie. And obviously, if we were to have it sit in water longer, for a really long time, the cookie would probably break or it would get really soggy. But for 30 seconds, we're gonna see if anything changes. Okay, 30 seconds is up. So now what I want you to do is it's kind of yucky, but I kind of want you to touch the cookie. Oh my goodness, look at that. Ew, you can touch it with your toothpick. Look at that. Look what the water did to the cookie. The cookie was really hard at first, right? It was not a soft cookie, and now look at it. So this is what can happen. Obviously, rock is a lot harder than cookie. But when water is by a rock or some sort of earth, over time, it can really erode the rock. And now look, just a pile of mush. So you do not want to eat that. So now that our experiment is all the way done, we are going to come back together and we're going to really talk about what happened with our cookie or our rock with our different types of erosion. So I can't wait for you to do it. Thanks for watching.